Good evening. This is the Walk Show. I'm your host, Alex Minor, together with my dear wife, Patricia Minor. Today, we're here to discuss about marriages. In our shows, we talk about marriages and leadership and other topics that will really help us to have better families and better lives. And our topic today is very key. It's what happened to love after marriage. Because some people are asking that question because the love they had before marriage is no longer existing. And we need to really be able to answer that question tonight. Together with us, we are blessed to have visitors all the way from London in England, Mr. and Mrs. Daniel Conley, and they are great speakers, especially in the area of marriage, and they are here with us today to help us to answer that question and to help each other. So you're very much welcome. And I just want to go direct to Mr. and Mrs. Conley and ask the question. What is really happening to love after marriage? You know, people are getting married, you know. You have seen those weddings, they land in helicopters, very wonderful weddings. And every person before marriage, they're happy. Mm-hmm. But then a few months down the line, a few weeks, even some of them, one day down the line, something has really happened. They don't want to see each other again. What is happening?
Well, that's a very good question, I must say. I think it's a question that most people ask around the world. And I think in my view, well, good evening, it's great to be here. Yeah. I think it's a pleasure to be a part of this because my wife and I are very passionate about marriages. In fact, marriage is at the center of our hearts. Now, good question, what's happened to love? And this is my view. I feel that many a times, perhaps also we tend to give our children or probably couples a false sense of wedding and marriage. There's a difference. Yeah. People are prepared for the day itself. So of course a lot of money goes into the day. Yes. Parents spend so much, a lot of investment, you know, but that's just a first step in the long journey of the marriage itself. So perhaps when we're preparing people for marriage, we should talk both about the wedding day and the marriage. So I think because the focus is purely on the wedding and not the marriage, so when there's almost an appearance of contention, appearance of stress and strain, the first thing to go out of the window is the love.
So actually you're saying that people in a big way, they never prepare for the marriage. They were just planning a wedding. Exactly. So, and that's definitely, that can be really understood that they were not prepared for love after the wedding.
Indeed.
So we need to prepare after.
Certainly.
For marriage.
Certainly.
More than for the wedding day.
Definitely.
Almost like it's better we miss the wedding day. Yeah. And we have a marriage.
Exactly. Yeah. So we don't misplace the priorities. You understand?
So it's a matter of misplacement.
Certainly.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. You know, marriage is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And it's something that is, like my husband said, it's really dear to our hearts. But we describe marriage like a plant. And, you know, when you have a plant, you start with a seed, you water it, you tend it, it needs sunlight, it needs water, it needs air for it to really grow and blossom. So with the marriage, when we come into the marriage, like my husband rightly said, first is the preparation. And obviously, yes, there's a big wedding and all the celebration, but then after that comes real life. And I think that is where sometimes people think, this is not what I was expecting. I was expecting a fairy tale throughout. But that's the reality of life, is that marriage is a journey. Marriage is a journey that we walk the journey together. And that love has to be invested in the same way you invest in tending a plant and growing a plant. And a lot of times, you know, the issues come when we feel, it's not what I'm expecting. So I think, first of all, what my husband said, I think is so important, because even from the preparation, you get to begin to understand that this institution you are coming into, you are coming in and you are bringing the best of yourself, you are bringing the worst of yourself, and you're going to work through a process of making it become more and more beautiful as a plant.
Yep.
You know, so love after marriage is something that we have to invest in. For example, I used to always think that a great marriage, it would just happen.
Okay.
Yes, that was, I honestly thought that. So when we got married and we hit a brick wall, I thought, this is not what I was expecting.
So you have ever hit a brick wall?
Oh yes, we had a lot of brick walls. Oh yes.
Are you comfortable giving an example, just one?
Oh yes.
Of a brick wall?
Oh yes. Okay, so I'll tell you a wonderful story that, everywhere we go we tell it and people laugh, but then for us it was tough. So in the first year of our marriage, we had a wonderful honeymoon in St. Lucia.
Ooh,
came back.
St. Lucia?
Yes.
Oh,
22 years ago.
that's good.
Came back to London. Okay. And then my mother had told me that, as a wife, you make sure you clean, you cook, you make sure you do all these things. So I was doing all these things, and, my husband would tell me, oh, I'm lonely. I'm lonely in the marriage. I thought, but I'm here with you. How can you be lonely? And we're saying it now, but this used to cause issues, because newly wedded couples, and you've been told as well that you don't really talk to people about your marriage. You're like, what are we doing? How can you be lonely? Anyway, so this went on for months, so I would, even at home, I would cook, I would clean, I would do things. And my husband would, a lot of times he would come and say, let's go for a walk. Let's just go out and let's just spend time together. And I would say, no, I've just cooked. Let's eat at home and, let's just stay at home. Well, I didn't understand what was going on. And I'm going somewhere. Yeah. So when we hit this brick wall where we had a lot of conflict because my husband was saying, I'm lonely, I'm lonely, I'm lonely. I was getting frustrated, but I'm doing my best, I'm doing my best, I'm doing my best. We then learned about the love languages. Oh. Yes.
Love language.
5 love languages. Wow.
That's not like English. That's another language.
I'm telling you.
Tell us.
So it's we realize that every one of us has a love tank.
Oh, okay.
And my husband has a love tank. I have a love tank, and this love tank has to be filled with the love the way I want to receive it. My husband's love tank has to be filled with love the way he wants to receive it. Now, the 5 love languages. The first, there's touch. Some people they receive and give love through touch, they're tactile. Some people like acts of service, like me. You help me out, with maybe helping out with the cleaning and stuff like that. It fills my love tank with love. I feel so loved by my husband. And some people like presents. I like presents too. So my husband, he knows me very well. And then some people like kind words, just words of affirmation go a long way. And then the last one, 5th one, some people like quality time. Okay. They just like time together. I just want you and me. Even if we're going for a walk, I don't care about the rest of the world. It's just both of us. So what I didn't realize that my husband's love tank was very empty because his love languages were touch. My husband loves touch. Oh, he loves quality time. Yeah. And then the 3rd one for him was words. So my love languages, my 2 then, because they also change over time. That's the interesting thing about marriage. Okay. My 2 then were just presents. I love presents, and I loved acts of service. Just help me. As a young housewife, if you help me, I'm so happy. So my husband would help me out, with the things I needed help with. He would help me. He would come, what are you doing in the kitchen? Let me help you with this, help you with that. And then he would buy me lovely presents. I was always very happy. I knew he loved me, and he would tell me he loved me. But for him, I used to then buy him presents because I like presents. Yeah. I would buy him a lovely present, and he would be like, where's the card? I'm like, what do you need a card for? I spent a lot of money on this present. He's like, I want some nice words on a card. I'm like, okay, and then I would then also do acts of service for him. I'll help him out. What do you need help with? But then, he would want to hold my hands when we go out. When we're talking, walking, I'll be comfortable because I grew up in a home where there was no expression of love. I didn't see my parents holding hands. I wasn't, very expressive. I didn't know how to give and receive love in an expressive way. So I struggled with this thing. So my husband was feeling very lonely, actually. Looking back now, that's why he was saying he was lonely, because the way he wanted to receive love, I wasn't giving him anyone. I wasn't good with touching. I wasn't good with quality time. I wasn't good with the words. So when we learned that, I then thought, wow, so Esther, you have a lot of work to do. So you see, that's when sometimes you realize the love hasn't disappeared. It just needs to be worked at, you know. And so I then started to learn to hold hands, you know, and
how did you know that? Do you ask him?
Yes. So when we discovered the 5 love languages, I had to find out from him what he wanted.
Okay.
Yes. So that's when I knew that those were the things that were important to him: the touch, the quality time, and the words.
So what you're telling me now, I need to speak to my wife.
Yes.
And also our viewer. They need to speak to their wives, their husbands, and ask them.
Yes.
Among the 5 things, you say touch, presence, gifts, kind words, and
quality
time.
Yes.
That among these 5 things, what do you hunger for?
Yes.
What do you want me to give you every morning?
That's right.
And somebody may just say touch.
Yes.
And that's what satisfies them.
Satisfies them.
So many marriages will be in a place whereby you're giving them the wrong thing.
That's
correct.
They don't want like M-Pesa all the time, you know. Just a confession. My wife used to call me, and then I thought maybe she just needs to be M-Pesa. so I was just wondering, what do you really want? I give you some money in the morning. I give you my ATM card, so you don't need to call me again. But then I discovered later that what she needs now is presence. She would call me, where are you? She knows where I am, but she used to come where it's like Adam. Where are you? And I think what you're saying is very, very important. But maybe we need to speak to this couple that doesn't know any of that. To me, it appears to be like a strange thing, but then it answers a lot of questions that I need to know what really my wife calls love.
Correct.
And then I offer that. Then it has the responsibility to look at me and find out what really I call love and offer that.
Indeed.
Then we're going to solve so many romantic conflicts.
Indeed, exactly. And I think even pops to add to what you've just said. I also think that, you know, it's also very important that we intentionally make time for each other. You know, because love doesn't just come and stay there. You know, love has to be, you need to feed love. You need to fan love to flame. You need to make time for love.
Yes.
So, I mean, one thing that we emphasize on the Alpha Marriage course that we run, you know, is that, you know, is what we call the dating time, date time or date night. So which simply means that when you're married, we think it's very imperative to keep love alive, that you make time, no matter how busy your schedule is, to make time for each other. You know, think about it. When you're dating, you just met your wife, you're doing things together all the time, there's a lot of euphoria, you're excited, and you're looking forward to seeing each other at the end of the day. But when you get after the wedding, you're now working in the journey of marriage. Things happen. You know, you start working, children come along. If you don't intentionally make time or create time for each other, the love will go. Or at least love won't have the priority it once had. So the whole idea of the date night is that you endeavor to make time once a week, just for 2 of you.
Once a week?
Honestly.
Some people think that's too much. Some only once a year.
Oh, wow.
No, but Alex, think about it. You know, we tend to make time for things that's important to us. So, you know, if you have an appointment at 7 o'clock, even if you came in late the night before, you'll still make time for that point. And the same thing applies to our marriages. You know, that yes, it might seem like, you know, a chore, you know, in every week planning the date night. But because your marriage is important to you, important to us, it's almost imperative that we must make time for that date night. Where no children, put your phones away, but just, you know, there's a song, just the 2 of us, we can make it if we try. So the whole idea of trying is that you make time once a week for just both of you.
But it doesn't have to be like a high-end thing, go to this hotel. Maybe, how do you do a date night every week? Like, you go for holiday every you go to this wonderful hotel. Can you try to help us so that we can start from where we are? Because we're talking of this, maybe this couple that is not even like really having a good job, but they need to build their marriage. What would you call like a date night for them?
I mean, a date night, honestly speaking, it doesn't have to be expensive. You know, we started out by, on a certain evening, we'll put our kids, then they were very young, put them to bed very early, and then we'll agree that we'll sit down at the dining table and we'll watch a movie. So I mean, you could do it. It doesn't have. You don't have to go to any fancy restaurant.
You can be at home.
You can be at home. You know, you can just sit down on the floor and just talk. Some people just sit down at the dining table, have tea and biscuits, and just talk. The whole idea is that wherever you do it, doesn't have to be anything spectacular. But the emphasis that it's your time. It's just for you and Patricia, nobody else. So you don't need to go to a fancy restaurant. You don't need to go to the beach side. It's just that time. You create a time, and that works for you. That's the whole idea.
So maybe what Patricia tells me sometimes, let's take a walk, and then I refuse. Maybe that's what she wants.
Yes,
Certainly.
absolutely.
Yeah, she's been telling me sometimes, can we walk? I said, I'm tired.
Oh.
I'm busy.
Yeah.
So not expensive.
That's right, not expensive.
I don't need anything. It doesn't have to cost you, but just working together, sharing what we have. What we have is our emotion.
That's right.
Just simple.
That's right.
I love what Patricia just said about what we have is our emotion. Because you see, like on the marriage course, the first week we talk about connection. You know, a lot of couples, when they lose connection, you lose love. Because you must connect. And that connection can be so easy. You can just have it just by walking and talking and really listening to each other and being present with each other. That's why we say no phones, no computers, no laptops, no children. You want to be there with each other. You want to hear each other. You want to connect. You want to know, how are you doing, my husband? What is on your mind? How are you feeling? What's going on with you? You know, we're emotional beings. We're spiritual, emotional. We have a lot of this. All our faculties have to always be okay. And as a husband and wife, when we connect on those levels, you know, it's so important and it's so healthy. That's why marriage is there, so that we can really enjoy that unique connection that, you know, is supposed to be there and is supposed to feed that area of our hearts when it comes to receiving love and knowing that I am loved, I am understood, I am appreciated, I am valued. This person enjoys spending time with me, you know. So yeah, it doesn't have to cost anything.
So it has to be like planned. That's the key thing.
Yeah.
Because if I don't plan for it, maybe I may never do it.
That's it.
So maybe the way I'm planning my week, so my wife must come like my priority in my diary.
Certainly.
Yes.
That maybe every Monday evening,
Yes.
or this week it's on Monday.
Yes.
Next week is on Tuesday.
Correct.
Yes.
And then this will be our night.
Yes.
Everybody out.
Certainly.
No one is calling me. No one is.
Yes.
I'm just looking at my wife.
Yes.
You know what you say. It's so little because that's something that has really missed. It has just been taken away by other things. We don't give our people attention anymore. Attention has been taken away.
That's
has
right.
been stolen.
That's right.
Every other time when I want to talk to my wife, and maybe some very important person is calling me, and I think I need to take this call rather than look at my wife as my priority.
That's right.
So if you do those small things, marriage will work. So for you, you said you had hit the wall. So that helped you to get over that wall. As the marriage continued.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to just, as you talk about that, about the love language, there's something that you said this morning about conflict. Because I still feel like those two things, when they marry, then marriage will work. And maybe I don't want to put words in your mouth. Can you just maybe share a little bit about conflict and how we need to solve conflict? Because maybe right now, me and Patricia have a conflict. Or someone else who is watching us has an issue somewhere in marriage. How do we go through that?
I mean, another very good question, Alex. You know, the truth is, because even though we're married and we love each other, you know, and like my wife just said, you know, we are there to feed each other's love tank. We're still human beings, which means that there will be times when we have conflicts. There will be times when we have a difference of opinion. There will be times when we could just be very tired. And of course, your wife might say something, and ordinarily you won't react, you'll respond, but because you're tired or stressed, you react. So conflict is inevitable. Now, the issue that most people grapple with is, how do you resolve the conflict? Now, more often than not, when there's a misunderstanding between couples, you know, rather than actually address the cause of the conflict, we start attacking each other. You know, so I see you as the problem. You see me as the problem. But one thing we've learned to do, and the marriage course teaches, is that, you know, we identify what the cause of the conflict is. And think about it like this.
Yeah.
Let's assume this is the cause of the conflict.
Oh, yeah.
So I stop pointing fingers, she stops pointing. We are both identify what the issue of the conflict and we put it aside.
So
and
that is the conflict.
That's
You
the
put it
cause of the
aside.
conflict, yes.
Yes.
Yes, and we identify what the cause is. Now, this doesn't come naturally for a lot of couples. It didn't come naturally for us because we're thinking, you've caused me pain, I've caused you pain. So initially it goes from A, B, back and forth, like playing basketball or ping pong. But when we get to the point where we realize that the marriage course informs us how to do this effectively well, we identify what the cause and we take it out of us. We both identify it. Think about it, puts it on the table, and we're saying, talking, the issue isn't about you, it's about this. I said, do you want to take it from there, please?
Yeah. So rightly put. So, and then, when we talked about it, just to highlight another point is that, I through this way of resolving conflict, one thing that really struck me is that we are both on the same side. We are not each other's enemy. We're both team win, the husband and wife. So we then learned, that as we put this issue here, we now need to talk about this issue and sit back together as husband and wife. Like we said today, we might not be as cozy because we're not happy about this issue that is poking both of us in separate ways. But the most important thing is that this issue is what the problem is.
Yes.
And that's what we want to sit back together and resolve together.
And you have said you're on the same side.
We're on the
Correct.
same
Well,
side.
team win.
Yeah, like the conflict is what we're dealing with.
That's right.
But we need to agree that we're on the same side.
Certainly.
That's it.
Looking for a solution
Yes.
for this conflict.
That's
Correct.
right.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
because where we struggled in the past as well, in our first year, the first year can be a real tornado. But so
Tornado.
yes.
A whirlwind.
Yes, because you see, we're different people, and my husband and I were so different. So it was, we had to learn so much, and that's why I said, it's really beautiful when we work through these things. So we realized that we're not each other's enemies. Yes. We actually are on the same side. So we put this issue out here, and then we address this issue. So we look at the issue, and then also there are also things that also are important when it comes to addressing the issue, like the timing. So if I'm very tired and my husband is very tired, that is not a good time to try and resolve this issue because my faculties might not be together. If I'm very hungry, so we talk about things, practical things that we have to be very intentional about when resolving the issue. And the most important thing is that the issue is what we're talking about. And even before we go to conflict resolution, one thing we talk about is communication, because that is a skill as well that has to be applied in conflict resolution in every area of our marriage. Communication. So the importance of talking and listening, because a lot of us sometimes we're very good at talking, but we're terrible at listening. So we put this issue out there and we let the person that has the issue, ideally what we do as we practice initially, if it is my issue, so let's say my husband has upset me about something, I hold on to something to say, I'm the one that has the issue. So my husband has to listen to me because I'm the one holding something. So I talk about this issue, how it's, for me, from my perspective, how it started, what happened, how it made me feel. So he's listening to everything that I'm saying, and then we talk about, okay, so now that I've poured out my heart on this particular issue, let me hear from you on this issue from my perspective, because you see, we all have different perspectives on this particular issue. So he would reiterate to me what he can hear me say, how he sees I'm feeling, I'm hurting about this particular issue. Because if he's to address it from his own point of view, a lot of times he would most likely accuse me of something else. Yeah. Yes. So we take time for him to really see things from my perspective, and then we work out a solution for this issue. We focus on this issue and resolve it from the perspective of the person that is hurting, and we're able to actually address that issue. Because like we even said in the morning as well, you find out that because sometimes one issue might actually affect other issues in the marriage that have not been resolved. So it's so easy to get distracted when there's so many issues. So that's why this focusing on this issue out here and resolving this issue, it really guides us as couples and gives us the skill and the tools to resolve other issues.
Right.
You know, so yeah.
You said something very key about timing. Like you need to solve an issue when you're calm, not when you're tired, not when you're hungry. So I should not wake up like in the midnight and remind her of an issue. Because also I think that angle of timing. How do you handle like timing? When is the right time? Because like let's say an issue has come up, I'm angry with whatever is on the table. I feel like this is the time I need to talk using my anger and hitting my anger. What is the right timing? Like how do I create the right time?
I mean, honestly, I think the person who has an issue would always believe that any time is a good time for me to address the issue.
To address
exactly.
Yeah.
But because like Issy rightly said, we're both on team win. So think about it. Patricia's had a very, very hard day. She's gone out working all day, comes back at 5 o'clock, and happens to just go to bed, have an early night. So she, you come back late. Patricia's in bed sleeping. You can see she's in deep sleep. Think about it. She's had a very long day. She's come back home, probably had to attend to the children when she got back, and is tired. Is now in bed. Even if you were to wake her up, it won't be the right time because she's had a very busy day. She's deep in sleep. So the ideal really is that you have an issue to discuss. Discuss it when the person is, most importantly, when they're awake.
Yeah.
So, I have an issue, babes. When I want to discuss with you. And more often than not, the person will respond, okay, fine, this is a good time.
You call them babe when you have an issue?
I just don't call her babe.
But this is after 20-something years of
20-something years of marriage. Well, in the early days, it wasn't babe. I'll call her by name, you understand? With a bit of attitude. But the truth be told, I think, to get the best out of your spouse, when there's an issue that's kind of brewing or that you're upset about, just as opposed to think about it from your perspective, think about the other person's perspective as well. She's sleeping, had a busy day. Perhaps whatever it is could wait till the morning, rather wake up from me and discuss it. So you agree that, okay, I have it, but surely you must discuss it, you must address it, because if you don't, you will internalize it. And when they ask you a question, how are you? I'm fine. And that's because you haven't really addressed the issue. So, like, you're going back to the question, when is a good time? A good time is informed by a good time for the other person as well. Because you want to discuss it with them. You also want to get a positive response back from them. So, I've got this issue I'm not very happy about. When is a good time to discuss it? So initially you're almost soliciting for a good time. And they'll say, of course, please, let's discuss it now. Please, I've got to rush to work now. Can we discuss it when I come back? So that, of course, obvious timings, that indications that maybe it's not a good time. And also think about it in terms of they've come back from work and they'll have to attend to the children. Surely it will be a good time as well. But okay, Patricia's come back from work, she's eating, she's rested. You can see that she's now just put her feet up and she's watching TV. Perhaps that would be an ideal time to say, oh, please, can I have a word with you? There's something I'm very upset about. So it's also almost being discerning as well of ideal time, whereby you feel that you get a positive response from your spouse.
So it's like you need to ask for permission from your spouse to handle an issue. Like, can we talk about this?
Certainly.
Rather than just coming in and talking about it.
Certainly.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to add to that, on the marriage course, we actually talk to couples about an 8 o'clock rule. That once it's really 8 o'clock, we're not really the best version of ourselves at that time.
8 p.m. at night.
8 p.m. Yes. So there's something called the 8 o'clock rule that we talk about on the marriage course. That once it's 8 p.m. at night, really you're tired. And but the most important thing is to say, okay, there's an issue here, we need to resolve it.
That's right.
And like my husband is saying, we need to agree on a time that works for both of us so that we can really be productive. Because the whole idea is to be productive. Every conflict that we actually deal with, when we work through it, it actually brings us closer. We're actually able to understand each other better because we're different. So we encourage couples to actually work with the 8 o'clock rules, so we're not too tired when we're talking about issues, and then also be intentional in discussing, be considerate of your spouse. When is a good time for you? It's a two-way thing. I know I'm upset, but also I'm being considerate as well. Like my husband was saying, maybe, the wife or the husband has been working all day, stressed, and, so it's been really considerate of one another. Yes, and being vocal. Yeah.